Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to show you how to run Kubectl with kubelogin and authenticate to the cluster with authentic in headless environments that don't have access to browsers or to consoles and so on, where you can only run an interactive command line commands. And you're going to see here, this is our environment here. This is a Docker container that is running Ubuntu on my local computer for the sake of demonstration. The first step, similar to the other platforms, is I have to be logged in on NRP's website. That's nrp.ai. Then you have the docs link here. Also, make sure you're logged in. You'll see a login button here using your campus single sign-on, the same identity provider you use for NRP for all services. Get access. These, you should have already gone through these to be part of a namespace to be able to follow this. This assumes you are part of a namespace. Now, cluster access via kubectl. So we're going to follow the same steps in installing kubectl. So install kubectl. Since this is Linux, I'm going to show you the exact same steps I followed in the Linux video. So I'm going to install it with brew just because I like brew, but you can install it with the other steps. You can install it with curl, which is very easy to do. It's one command, second command to validate here and here, and then install and test, and you're all set. But I like brew because it makes the kubelogin and stuff a little easier, so I'm going to use homebrew and to install it, brew.sh, copy the command over and run it over here. And we don't have curl installed, so since this is Ubuntu based, I'm gonna apt install curl. And give it a minute. So it's going to prompt me, enter. It might prompt you for a password. The root user said not prompt me for a password. But if it prompts you for a password, you need to put in your own local computer password or whatever OS the commands are running in is password. This is not an NRP password. This is more related to the environment you're running. You can see here it's complaining because it's I don't have Git, so I'm going to install Git as well and give it a minute. Now run, enter. And updating homebrew. Now homebrew is installed. Let me make sure you can see next steps. Run these commands, add it to path. So I'm going to run these three commands. Also make sure you install the dependency so nothing breaks in the future. But to test it out, kubectl, you can see it here in the install guide. So brew, sorry, where you installed brew. So we tested with brew dash dash help. You can see it's showing me brew related help. That means the binary is there. My terminal is seeing it. Now brew install kubectl. And give this a minute. We can test it with kubectl version dash dash client. You can see the client version here. This does not need to match the cluster. After this, I have kubectl. Now the tricky part is installing kubelogin. So there is the link here and the download button. Both take me to kubelogin's GitHub, which shows me how to install it. This is the reason I installed Homebrew, because I can now just install kubelogin with Homebrew. Just brew install kubelogin. And now my kubectl has the kubelogin plugin. So I can run back and I have it ready as a plugin. Now we have the steps you need here to how to run Headless, but I'm just going to show you what happens when you don't. So let's try to follow the same steps normally like we do. So save the config file or download the config file. So this is my config file. I download it to my downloads, and for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to paste it in because this downloaded to my local computer. So you need to have the config file in your headless environment in some sort of fashion. So I'm just going to copy it over. And of course, paste it here. First of all, let me make sure I do have the directory in my home directory. So that's tilde forward slash dot cube. And I'm root, so the home directory is my root directory, and config. Install Vim real quick. One thing to note here is that it used to be the case that every user's config file was tailored for them. This is not the case anymore. We all have one config file, and the actual authentication happens with kubelogin, hence the need for the plugin. Now that we have Vim installed, I'm just going to paste the kubelogin. Let me copy it over. And now let's see what happens if I try and run a command. So context, you can see the Nautilus context. So far, so good. Everything is great. And now I'm telling it to use Nautilus. Now let's try to get nodes. This should try to authenticate me with the cluster. So you can see here, error, could not open browser. And that is perfectly natural because there is no browser on my headless environment. And open the URL localhost. Don't try to open this on your local computer because if I open it here in my browser, this is a different host than this. This is the Docker container. So since we can't open a browser to authenticate like we normally do, this is where we follow the steps here for in console no browser. So I'm gonna modify my config file with Vim. You can see here. Let me scroll down a little bit. See args, OIDC, login get token. You can see I'm gonna copy over these two lines. So after get token, I'm gonna copy them over and make sure they match the indentation. So you can see grant type, device code. So I'm using device code, which you'll see in a minute, and I'm skipping opening a browser and save and quit. Now I run the command again. Please visit the following URL in your browser. And which browser here, any browser that you're authenticated with authentic, with the cluster, you can see because I already logged into the cluster. So the same browser I logged into nrp.ai, authentic, you may close this page now. I can just close it. And you can see here, it should work. Now, another thing to note here is depending on your environment, you can see here, look at the error. This is very specific and you have to read it to understand what you need to solve. So our error here is in could not write the token cache. So keyring write, that's where our issue is with writing keyring. So you can see here the Windows subsystem for Linux stubs. This is very common for WSL users that are trying to run kubelogin inside of Linux running on their Windows OS. So you can see here, you can use token dash cache dash storage equals disk. So let's try that. So instead of keyring, what changed is storage. What changed is disk. Sorry. Save and quit. And now visit this URL. You may close this page now and we watch it. And that's it. You can list your nodes. At this point, you have everything you need. You can specify your default namespace. And I can run kubectl get pods, and this automatically lists them from my namespace without having to explicitly specify.